Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. I am so excited to have you here today. I am interviewing Dr. Radha Sinha. She is a naturopathic doctor and a licensed practitioner of East Asian medicine and acupuncture in the state of Washington. She is triple board certified in naturopathic medicine, acupuncture, and Chinese herbal medicine. As a holistic doctor, she integrates Western, Eastern, and European medicine, naturopathic, and bioenergy medical systems. She combines these systems to create an individually tailored plan to address the root cause of illness for her patients. She specializes in hormone balancing, autoimmune conditions, gastrointestinal disorders, and anti aging medicine. Welcome, Dr. Sinha. How are you?
I am so good. Thank you so much. I am so honored to be here.
It's so wonderful to have you here. And I'm going to hit record on my phone because it's Mercury retrograde. Things have been blipping out. And that way we have this double recorded just in case.
Absolutely.
Okay. So wonderful to have you here. So let's get started. How did you find your way into this practice? What was sort of that moment for you where you found out you had an interest in this type of medicine?
Yeah, so I got introduced to it obviously. So I was born in India, and obviously Ayurvedic medicine is so it came from India, and my family is actually all conventional doctors. So I grew up in that realm my whole life.
Mhm.
I mean, I was a baby. Um, but my grandfather kind of, I don't know why, but he gave me this book. I have no clue why. He was a surgeon. I don't even know why he had this book. He gave it to me. And then as life went on,
What was the book?
it had literally every single integrative practitioner, like a type of modalities in it. So it had Shirodhara, it had massage, it had acupuncture, it had herbs in it. It has like, it's like literally this thick.
What is integrative medicine?
So yeah, that's a great question. Integrative medicine, because there's so many terms out there now, like, right? There is naturopathic, there's integrative, there's functional. Integrative medicine means that a doctor or practitioner, whatever, license you have, integrates Western, Eastern modalities and more natural modalities rather than just conventional. Conventional meaning pharmaceuticals or surgery, the higher
Got it.
intervention things when it's needed. Absolutely. When you get hit by a car or you get shot or something like that, something really drastic,
Absolutely.
emergency state when those things are really needed. But integrative really means, in where I'm coming from, is, at least from what I do, at least too, is I weave in herbs from all over Europe and America and India, because they have such a wide array of things that they do. That's the magic of herbs, because
Mhm.
they don't have this one particular mechanism. Of course they do, you can study them like that, but the magic of really what herbs is, and I'm seeing that kind of also get away in how this whole wellness field is blowing up, is they're trying to study herbs in this mechanistic one way, like
Mhm.
pharmaceuticals, and they're just not. They're so beautiful in the sense that, if I took an herb or you took an herb, it might act differently in you than it might in me, based on my needs, because they have
Right.
a balancing effect. Of course, not all herbs are like that. Some are killing, some are tonifying, some are, it's not
Right.
that simplistic, but in general.
Okay. That's so interesting because so you are my naturopathic doctor, and I have noticed, I sought you out because I just wasn't feeling 100%. And I went to my regular doctor and like you said, I agree, we do need modern medicine for a lot of things, but I just wanted to feel well. And we start with these herbs and I couldn't believe I can't believe how well they work. Just like it's
Yeah,
just the
that's
littlest
so
it's the
amazing.
littlest thing. It's not like I need to take it for 5 months or I need to take, it 10 times a day. It's just it's so
Yeah.
simple.
It is super simple and we don't have to make it complicated. I mean, there's a whole gamut of things, right? You can make it as simple as you want and you can get complicated as you want. Obviously,
Hmm.
it's
Hmm.
just I make my life a little bit more complicated than it should be, but
We all do that sometimes.
yeah, it's just, you just don't, they're just so safe. And of course, right now, going back to your question about what integrative medicine is, I think because the wellness field has blown up so much that and so many people are getting into supplements and making supplements that it's starting to become a very toxic side kind of environment because you really don't know where they're getting the herbs from, what fillers are in there, what pesticides are in there, and all of these different things. So even the herbs are being contaminated. And so we really have to be careful about our sourcing and where we're getting it from. Because what I would hate to see what's happening, and this is how I also grew up of, oh, you won't trust herbs because you don't know if they really work. They're not studied. Of course, they are absolutely studied. But what I'm seeing is the supplements are not actually containing enough of the herb to be able to do what the therapeutic effect of it needs to happen. And so then people are like, oh, it doesn't work, and I would hate to have that happen or have some emergency happen or something like that, just because these things are safe, but they're also very powerful. And so
Right.
people need to be aware of that.
I like how you framed that. These herbs, they are very powerful. I've just seen it in my own experience. It's mind blowing. It's mind blowing. Okay, so we're going to get to sourcing good herbs at a later moment in our conversation. So you're given this book based from your grandfather, and how old were you?
Oh, I was probably like 10.
Okay.
Got it. And then I didn't even really think of anything of it. But then it was later in life. In college, I always wanted to do medicine, but then even in college is something, innately when you have that intuition that that is not the right path. And
Hmm.
even growing up, I saw how limited conventional medicine was in health. In health. It really
Sure.
was, it just in your diet and your really keeping yourself balanced and aging well, and really even hormones. Like for me personally, my gut and my hormones um, really got off track when I was probably very, very young. Actually, when I came to this country when I was really little, but then really in college, it hit me. My gut and my hormones completely went off rail. And then later, when I moved to New York City and I was working in a corporate job, so I didn't end up doing conventional medicine. I ended up doing business.
Hmm.
And then I went to as a corporate consultant in New York City, doing that whole thing, and it was just kind of sucked my soul. And I got really sick.
Hmm.
Um, and I was trying to find answers. And at that time, there was integrative medicine, but it was like not well known at all.
Sure.
And they actually didn't even really have the answers that I was looking for. I went to a couple different doctors and really didn't find that much. So I had to do a lot of study on my own, and then that really sparked something within my own soul of I think this is my path. This is what I was supposed to do. That's why I got that intuition that I was not supposed to go to conventional medical school in
Hmm.
college. And it really lined up for me to go to naturopathic medical school. And I knew that I wanted to do the acupuncture with it and everything like that. But it really was sparked from my own journey of hormonal imbalance and a lot of gut issues. And what I really have become the doctor that I really needed at that time. And that's my whole goal, is to help women, especially because we just have really limited options for our hormones. And there's so much that we can do.
Yeah. I really personally value individuals like yourself who have gone through this journey and have healed themselves, supported themselves, and then turned it into their passion
Yeah.
and then help other people. I mean, that's what I do with my own energy work, right? Like I went through my situation with energy work and turned that into, and then it empowers people. And so I love that you have really gone through this journey and made it your own. So when you, gosh, for some reason this is popping into my mind, we actually met, it was at a woman's networking event.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah, and you had a booth, not a booth, but like it was a really nice event. It was in a really nice place in downtown Seattle, and you were in this room with this nice table, and you were doing vitamin shots, right?
Yes, yeah. I started my own practice after residency, just getting the word out there that I was there, and so I started doing nutrient events because our food sourcing is so, oh, it's so sad. It's not
Terrible.
up to par with our soil and everything like that. So many people need nutrients, and
Yeah.
a lot of symptoms that are happening today are because of nutrient deficiencies. So I really wanted to provide that, and also clean sourcing, because there's so many nutrient injection places now and everything, and they're not compounded and they have preservatives in it and stuff. So I really wanted to offer that to the community.
Yeah, that's gosh, it's I won't, I'm sure hearing all of this, it sometimes it feels a little bit hopeless, right? Like I think about that. I have this fancy water filter and then I have to re-add my minerals to
I
it.
know.
And
It does, but I used to think of it like that, and I really want to share this because I used to be able, you kind of create a fear around it, right? You create a fear around, oh my God, everything is going to kill me, right? Which I think that if we band together as a community and really look at our sourcing and really look and re focus our interests on actually good food and really supporting people who are doing the good work, then it won't be a problem. We just all have to really look at it and make it a priority. Um, and I always say, like, I think in the US, it's especially true because we don't prioritize meals and we don't prioritize meal times. And in a lot of different countries, like, your whole life revolves around when you're going to eat. And
Mhm.
I think if we all shift, and I'm seeing a shift, in the past couple of years as people wanting to be home and everything like that, that we can really reprioritize it and not focus it on fear-based, oh, where can I get the best thing, or where, this is going to kill me if I go out to eat, is like, okay, like how I think of it now is like, okay, I know there's people out there like me. I know that there's people out there who value really high quality, nutritious food and, sustainable things and regenerative farming and all of these things. So I'm just going to seek those out and go to those places and support those places,
Mhm.
hoping that other people will too. And as that happens, it will grow. And so we don't
Awesome.
have to live in a fear-based situation.
That does sound really proactive and hopeful, and I like that. I will say, I've noticed as my personal energetic spiritual practice evolves, everything kind of slows down in life,
Mhm.
and including the eating and the conscious eating, and it's a
Yes.
lot of work to enlightenment.
No, it is. Well, that's kind of how our soul is, right? That's why we're humans. I think
Yeah.
really why we're humans is to do the work in our soul and to embody what we were supposed to be here for anyway, not to, and to support people around us, not to save them, but just to really support them in doing their own work. And so we can all embody whatever we're here for.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And that's why we're chatting about this today, because when you personally are healthy, you can help and support more people. Okay.
Absolutely.
So we meet at this networking event. I am immediately drawn to you, drawn to your table, what you've got going on. We start chatting. I find out you're doing these nutrient shots, and then you let me know that you do muscle testing to see which one is for the best,
Yeah.
which I was all about. And then I found out you put it in my glute. So I just dropped my pants and I said, I'm ready. But let's talk about muscle testing for a minute. How did that part come into your practice?
Yeah. So when I went to naturopathic medical school, it was, it's a 4-year medical school, rigorous. They've become very conventional because they have to be in terms of getting licensed and everything in
Mhm.
nationally, obviously recognized as physicians. So I had to do extra study and a lot of extra study in European biological medicine. So I just sought out mentors. I did Dr. Klinghart's classes, and then I eventually did my residency with him. And he and Louisa Williams came up with this way of muscle testing. Muscle testing has been around forever. It's
It has, yeah.
kinesiology. We think about it as all of our cells are vibrating at a certain frequency. All of our cells emit light, just like, plants, they take in the sun for photosynthesis. That's kind of how we are, but in a very different way. Uh,
Mhm.
and so what we do is each remedy or each medication or and every organ all emit different frequencies and lights, and that's what we're tapping into. So when I press different acupuncture points, so obviously our whole body has acupuncture points, right? We have all of these 12 main meridians running through us. And that connects us from our top of our head all the way down to our toes. Everything is connected.
Mhm.
And they've researched this, and they've brought it back to the nervous system. It's really intricately involved in our nervous system. So we press different acupuncture points on the body, and that reflexes to the brain. Hey, this is okay. This is connected to the liver. This is connected to your thyroid. When I press those points, the nervous system shouldn't get stressed. When it does get stressed, it makes a response. So that can be either low muscle strength or a change in how your alignment is or something like that. And
Mhm.
that's kind of what we're reading. And the way the muscle strength is or the alignment changes, you can read, okay, was that a stress? How bad of a stress was it? What am I going to do to offset that stress? Because when you put in something into your field that relieves that stress, it will bring it all back into universal knowing and alignment.
I did not know that that's how it was scientifically explained, the muscle testing piece. Well,
Yeah.
scientific to
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I'm dumbing it down. This is 2 years of study, right?
right.
There's so much study behind this and how the nervous system is. And, Dr. Klinghardt, I know he had a YouTube on it, but I think it was taken down. But, um, I mean, I have books and books on it. So
Yeah.
it's definitely researched.
Well, I love it because I actually teach, I just call it the yes no tool. And this is nothing I invented. This is just, because like you said, it's been around forever. To me, this is one of the tools that's integrated into us as humans. And I think a lot of people know this, but you go within your body and you ask it like a yes no question, and your body will
Yeah.
lean forward or lean back. And so it's been really helpful when I'm in a session with you. So I'm laying down on a table, I'm on my back and I put my arms up over my head. I usually want to fall asleep. And that's what you do. You touch these different points and then you check what is it that you're looking at then in response? The
So
length of my
the
arms?
way I do it, yeah, because I don't use a surrogate. Usually, Dr. Klinghardt will use a surrogate to use muscle strength, but I just like to use your own body.
Mhm.
The whole alignment changes. So I'm looking at your arm length and seeing, is it going one way or the other? How far? And then what am I going to do to I have the signal enhancers around you, and
Mhm.
what am I going to use to actually offset that stress?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's kind of think of it as a way of not, I love research and everything, but that has its place. That's why I like bioenergetic medicine too. I like to weave both of them in because
Mhm.
I can sit here and study a book and read the research, which I do. But then when it comes to reality of when someone is on my table and I bring an herb in or something that is very research for their symptom or whatever,
Mhm.
and it's not testing, and I have to then obviously ask myself, okay, well, why would this not be testing? Because maybe their root cause of their symptom is not what that herb
Mhm.
really needs to do.
Right.
So
Right.
that's where the muscle testing can really help, because two people can have the same symptoms, but their root of their organ system that's off might be completely different, and so they might need two different things.
Got it. Wow, that I didn't
That
know
makes
that.
sense.
That's really cool. I also do like that you know, science is nice to give us a little bit of validation for what we're experiencing energetically. I always say science can only prove what already exists. Science
Mhm.
only has so many resources, right? And every human is different. So,
Yeah.
how have you found over the years your intuition and your energy even evolve in your practice?
Oh my gosh, it is an ever evolving thing every day. um,
That's exciting.
it's so exciting. I can't even tell you. The biggest thing for me that has really fast tracked my evolution in energy and being more in tune, I think, as I've gotten in practice years, I get very clear as to when someone comes in and I know exactly what they need, without
Mm.
testing them. And then, of course, I use the testing and I use lab testing to back up my intuition, of course. But that gets clear as time goes on and as you work with yourself too, right? So I really spend a lot of time in meditation. I started doing qigong about 3 years ago, and I've been doing it regularly. I think that really clears a lot of things, so you can get clear information. I think the controversy with muscle testing is that you might not get the same results as someone else or something like that. And I agree with that. I do agree with that, because if the
Mhm.
practitioner or the doctor or whoever is not clear and really working on themselves to clear their field of whatever it is, personal life, because we all are human, right?
Right.
And the last patient that just came in or whatever, if that's not clear, then it can a little bit skew it. So you really have to work on yourself in that realm. So I find personally that qigong really has helped me clear all of that out.
That's awesome. So do you do qigong like in between sessions?
Not in between sessions, but every day. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So for yourself, I see. That is one of the things that I am excited to come to light in these upcoming years is I think as a society, we're still so new to energy work, all different types of it. And the amount of self-care it takes for a
Mhm.
good public energy practice is a lot.
It's a
It's
lot. It's a lot.
yeah, it's no joke.
Yeah, and if
So
you talk to really talented energy, workers and stuff, they can only do so much without it being so physically taxing on the person. And that's when you just have to know your limit. You have to know it like anything, any job, anything, it just brings you back to your own body and it brings you back to knowing
totally.
yourself even more, because you are helping other people and that's the goal. But then you get to understand yourself as well even more.
That's you just hit the nail on the head. Let's frame that. Let's frame that. Agreed, agreed. So that's pretty neat. So when people come in, you can sort of sense what's going on before you even test it. I
Yeah,
guess
and I think that's just practice, right? Like as you see hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people, you pick up like, okay, these patterns and the ways of knowing someone or what they're going through, and then just intuition as you do your own
yeah.
energy work.
Yeah. So what are some of the health trends you've seen? I don't even know if I want to get into the last few years because those are kind of obvious with the pandemic, but what are some trends you're seeing right now?
Oh gosh, there's so many trends. Back to your question just for a second on
Yeah.
integrative medicine, there's now naturopathic, there's integrative, there's functional, there's what's called alternative. All of those are the same. You know, Functional medicine really came out of naturopathic medicine. Now medical doctors are seeing the limitations in conventional medicine and going to get further training in functional medicine, which is basically looking at the body in a more physiological, functional way. And basically, what naturopathic medicine is like, right? You're
Mhm.
looking at the root cause of things and then providing a more natural solution.
Mhm.
Um, it's basically all the same thing. You're trying to help the body balance itself and then also trying to do it in the most natural way possible. But in addition to that, there's European biological medicine, which is a little bit different and I find it to be a little bit more in depth because you're looking more at the cellular level and the cellular terrain. Do you know what I mean by terrain?
My eyes just got big as soon as you said that.
Yeah, so terrain is like, okay, like a garden, right? You're looking
Yeah.
at the soil, you're starting from the soil when you start a garden. So it goes deeper into looking at, okay, what's the intracellular health? What's the extracellular health? What is happening if some, because I've really dealt with a lot of chronic illness in my practices these past, several years. And it gets to be that what is making up the terrain of the body, and that's mental, emotional, spiritual, and also the physical of what you're putting in, the toxins and everything like that. So
Okay.
getting down to that level, I think, is important, and a lot of that is missing from today's wellness trends.
Missing.
Um,
Ceases to exist.
yeah. I mean, it's getting there. I think, as people are getting more educated and more aware of this, I think we're all seeing that. But I really wanted to mention terrain medicine because I think it's really important and not talked about enough. I know Dr. Zach Bush talks about it, like he's all
Yeah.
about the terrain, right?
How do
Um,
you spell terrain? Is it just
Terrain. Yeah.
okay, so like terrain. Okay, got it. Just checking because I
Yeah,
know some
the
people want to
terrain
Google
and
that.
the scene,
Yeah.
we have a terrain as well because we're all part of this earth. And so the trends that I've seen is from, gosh, when I first started, there was like nothing, like gluten free was taboo, to now, everyone's gluten free and dairy free. And, now the whole thing is, we're looking at PUFAs, which is the seed oils. And then there's so much out there. I see carnivore diets, I see keto diets, I see intermittent fasting, I see, and the whole idea of all of those different trends are to be healthier. But what I will say is you have to do what makes you feel good and feel healthy and makes you be healthy. Um,
Mhm.
and so I don't think one diet is for everybody. I think you should try things out. And if it makes you feel amazing, that's great. Then that's probably something that you should do. But if it's making you sick, then just you got to try something else, or, really talk to somebody who's an expert in the field.
Yeah,
Not on social media because not everyone is an expert.
right. That is the
It's kind of
truth.
crazy what's on social media these days. I'm like, wow, if I wasn't a doctor, I would not know what to even believe and what not to believe.
Yeah, I could see that. And you do really good Instagram story posts. So, and your contact information is gonna be in the show notes. What is your Instagram? Might as well throw it out there right now.
Just Dr. Radha Sinha. So
Yeah.
DRRADHASINHA.
Awesome. So you mentioned taking a holistic view. I will say it's now I can reflect. I think about our appointments together, our sessions, and I've said to you they feel like therapy, and you're like, well, they are therapy because we talk about all the pillars of my life because all of that matters and has and is a reflection on what's going on in my body.
Exactly. And that's exactly what I was talking about in terrain medicine. Like those, you hit it right there. Like the pillars are foundational to the health of getting down to that cell level, and that's what you're putting in your body is food, what you're consuming mentally, emotionally, what you're thinking, your trauma, all of that, what
Mhm.
you are, how you're sleeping, how, what you're doing as a job, all of that stuff is what you're sleeping on, what you're putting, what kind of water you're putting into yourself. And so all of that is what makes up our soil.
Yeah, yeah. One of the things you had mentioned, like the water, and one of the things you and I will discuss is, and we just touch on this topic, but there's trends I see in the work that I do, and you will see these trends in your business as well, in your
Mhm.
practice. And it blows my mind. Like there was a time, this was months ago, where I had clients who were from all across the, well, I will say the US actually. It wasn't, ironically, it was none of my global clients. But it was this stomach bacteria, intestinal bacteria that a bunch of people were getting.
Mhm.
And I was seeing it in my clients. And so they were going to see their naturopaths and their doctors. And then I got it myself. Um, so what is what's a micro trend right now that you are seeing? If you can think of one.
In terms of like bacteria and like infections.
That doesn't sound like fun. Anything. Sure, bacteria. Let's talk about bacteria infections. Who cares? It's energy anyway.
In the last few years, I would say year or 2 years, I see a lot on social media about infections. So,
Interesting.
and that is wonderful actually to be educated on that. I'm really happy that that education is getting out there because, when people would come into my office several years ago, they would think I'm crazy because I'm telling them they have a parasitic infection in America.
Mm,
I can't even tell you how common it is, especially if you have a pet at home. I mean, if you don't have enough hydrochloric acid, which that's an epidemic, everyone, because we're all stressed out, we're always on the go, is low on hydrochloric acid. And so that's an easier way, like you said, to get a bacteria from even the grocery store or even a bag of lettuce or whatever. And
interesting.
that, also breeds you getting a parasitic infection. So I always say, um, this whole terrain theory and immune system to keep it as healthy and vital as you can, I would always do some sort of parasitic cleanse or, see someone obviously because, all those herbs are very harsh and can be detrimental to your microbiome. But in terms of infections, that's definitely what I'm seeing pop up, which is actually very good because I want people to be educated about
Yeah.
parasitic infections are very common. They're just
Mm,
like bacterial infections. So
interesting.
yeah, so it's I don't know where I think why conventional medicine doesn't focus on it is because there's not a lot of good lab testing for parasitic infections, where there is for bacterial infections.
Interesting.
You can swab it, you can get gram negative, gram positive, like it's a very clear cut. Parasites are much different. They act much different. They're very different organisms, and they die. They shed differently. Their eggs are different. Like everything is different about them. And so the lab testing is it just hasn't come to medicine yet, and I'm sure it will one day, maybe in 10 years. It just hasn't yet, so that's why people are like not believing it. But
Mm.
which is why I use the muscle testing to pick it up. I can't tell you how many people I've picked that up on. That's what I see the underlying cause of SIBO is, to be honest. Everyone says it's bacteria, but recurring
Interesting.
SIBO is really parasitic.
Wow. So I remember this was, and I don't mind sharing this at all. This was last year. I think I was seeing you about once a quarter. We were just kind of I had a lot of stuff going on. And all of a sudden this parasite shows up and you go, "What did you do?" And I knew exactly what it was because I had a friend really wanted to go to this sushi restaurant and I had a bad feeling. And it was not like we have a lot of great sushi places in Seattle area and this was not one of them. And I had a bad feeling and I was like, it's okay. I'll just have the tea and I'll have the edamame or whatever. And she goes, "Do you want to split this happy hour roll?" And I was like, "Sure." And sure enough, that's when I started to not feel great. And that was a bugger. That one took us, I think, 3 rounds of some intense stuff to get out too.
Yeah, exactly.
They're
And,
intense.
and again, everyone's so different. It can take 1 second, 1 round. Otherwise, sometimes it can take longer. It depends
Ugh.
how bad it gets.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's all fixable.
Well, that's what I love. That's what I love about the line of work that you do is that I feel so empowered that I get to take care of myself in this way.
Yeah.
Also, I
There's
want to
a cure for anything and everything. I truly believe that. I have seen so many miracles happen right in front of my eyes. People are so amazing when they really want to heal, you will heal. You will find the right tools. There is endless amount of things that you can try and do and to really help yourself. And so that's why I always try to help my patients feel empowered because yes, okay, maybe one thing doesn't work, but then there's so many other things. This is why I love what I do because I have so many tools and resources for people to try. They're not just one thing that they can do and then they have to be sick for the rest of their lives. There's so much. I've seen autoimmunity reverse so many times. I can't even tell you that.
Yeah,
Just it is all about if you are ready to really heal.
I love that. I love that. What's one of the miracles that you comes to the top of your head that you can share?
Oh gosh, there's so many. I've seen Hashimoto's reverse. I've seen all of the autoimmune gut, IBS, IBD, Crohn's, all of that reverse. I've seen people
Amazing.
get pregnant immediately. Like it's just beautiful. It's just amazing. It truly is amazing. I've seen people transform their lives, just as they heal, they get divorced or they go into another relationship, or it's just like so just beautiful to witness.
Oh, I love that. So, have you seen any connection between people's emotions and these, let's call them diseases?
Oh, 100%. Every condition, unless it's like an acute thing that you were talking about, oh, I ate something
Hmm.
got sick, has a emotional component. Like I think what is people are talking about this, like Gabriel Mate talks about this, right? What I do think a little bit is missing in the functional medicine world is that your emotions, especially in chronic illness and hormones, oh my gosh, I can't tell you, our hormones as women, especially, um, are living emotions. They're a physical embodiment of our emotions.
Hmm.
So we can't separate our mind from our body, right? We're all
Right,
attached.
right, right.
Just like we can't separate our heart and our liver, our heart and our kidneys, we're all attached. And that's what I
Yeah,
love about, Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic medicine, because each organ is influencing the other. So our brain is going to influence our guts and our liver and our cellular terrain,
yeah.
because think of our cells, and Dr. Klinghardt talks about this too. I think he did his thesis on this, of psychoneuroimmunology, where it proves that what you're thinking, what you're feeling has an effect on your white blood cells, which is your immune system, um, and your gut microbiome. So now there's tons of research coming out on that.
So I this is interesting because I find there's such a balance between, there is power in positive thinking, but we also can't put a band-aid on healing what's beneath the surface.
Absolutely.
Such a
I
balance.
think it's like toxic positivity sometimes,
Right,
right?
right.
That it's okay to feel the trauma that you've gone through. I think what what we just have to think about is we have to uncover those layers, and there are definitely layers for everyone. I think every and each one of us living on this planet has some sort of something that we can work
Oh
on.
yeah.
We just can't live in it,
Right.
we can witness it, we can love it, we can be part of it, we can really do so many different things to help heal those, because the trauma really kind of stays with us on a physical level in our cells, in our tissues.
Mhm.
So once we witness it and release it, however way you want to do that, you just, I urge people to not stay in that loop.
Of course, of course. And I think that loop it's a tough one.
Yes,
It's
I
a
know. Believe me, I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, it's a really tough one. I look at some of the people in my life who I have seen go through the worst traumas imaginable, and somehow through their own amazingness
Mhm.
are turning it into their power.
Yes. And honestly, I think that is what is brought to us to be able to then turn it into our power. That
Yeah.
is why it comes to us for whatever reason. It comes to people. Just, I mean, like, even, when I talked about Gabriel Mate, he talks about cancer. His new book, I think, is about this. When people get that devastating, like, life altering
Yep.
disease, and then they heal from it, the one thing he asks hundreds of patients, cancer patients, after they healed, was that this condition brought me back to myself and brought me back to what I need to embody in this world and what I need to do in this world.
That
And it
is
takes another level of courage to actually, bring it to the world.
yes.
But I think anyone and everyone has the capability of doing that.
It totally does, and it comes in so many different forms. A friend of mine is going through a relationship transition, and it's bringing her even more into her power.
Yes. Yeah.
It's I will say this is one of the crappy things about human life. It takes what's the word? It takes friction for us to go to where we really want to go.
Totally. It's not easy for
It's
sure.
annoying.
Not
It's
easy.
annoying. I'm like, no, like, why can't we just take a course that says, hey, this is how you're going to learn things, and it's going to be nice, and there's going to
Yeah.
be comfortable blankets and candles, unscented, clean burning. You know, there's going to be
Well,
tinctures
there
and
should be a course when, I mean, we get math drilled into us and calculus and all this stuff in high school, but really, I think high schoolers are cognizant and brain developed enough to have this type of course. They should.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So you had mentioned hormones a few times, and hormones I've noticed kind of starting to trickle up more into our our socials. So, and you talked about that being such, it's directly tied to emotions for women. So, what are some things you saw? Obviously, hormone imbalance is a big deal.
Big deal for us. I mean, on so many different levels for women all across the world. I think because we're getting, you know, away from how we're supposed to be. And that can look different for everyone and anyone, of course. But I think, from what I see and from even living it myself, is we're just all of us are spent and overworked,
Mhm.
that does not do service to our hormonal endocrine system. And then, you're this whole hustle culture. Um, I don't know one woman that actually has healthy hormones in that culture,
Yeah, for sure.
because I see them, and I
Right.
see that they have to be on bioidenticals or something all the time, for it to be balanced, and that shouldn't be the case. You know.
What does hormone imbalance look like? If I'm walking around with hormone imbalance, what are some of my symptoms? What are some of my tells?
Oh my God. This is why I love hormones, because it can be anything. It can be
Oh,
anywhere
great.
from bloating and irregular menses, heavy bleeding, not enough, like not getting your period, hair loss, weight loss, weight gain, acne. It can be a lot of gut stuff. Like if your gut is a mess and you're always having gut issues, your hormones will probably be a mess too, because a lot of our hormones are our liver, our gallbladder, and our large intestine. So we do all the phase one, phase two, phase three detoxification of the hormones and making of the hormones from that level. And so we have to always be, that's why nourishing ourselves and making sure that we're eating clean food is so important for hormonal balance.
Wow.
And so it's really, this is why I love it, because it's really the foundations of health, the pillars that you were talking about. Um, but also looking at it from your soul purpose too, and relationship. I just had a wonderful patient who, she was like, put herself into menopause and she's in that age range. And I said, I've seen people reverse this all the time. And she made some bold moves in her relationships, and I am so proud of her.
Mhm.
And then totally they've like started to work it out. It was just completely 180, and then her period came back without doing
Wow.
anything. Of
Ooh,
course
that gives me
cleaned her up
chills.
and stuff, but that is a huge missing piece too, that people.
Wow.
And then of course the contraceptives, I can't not say
Oh,
anything
that's
about
barf.
contraceptives. Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's really sad because I went through this when I was younger. um,
Yeah.
because when I was having hormonal issues, the only option that I had was being put on contraceptives. And then I was
Mhm.
on it for 10 years. And then no one talked to me about the B vitamin deficiency, the effects on fertility, the effects on your gallbladder, all of this stuff, which will lead to long-term hormonal imbalance.
Mhm.
And it took me a while to balance it out. And so I really want women to be empowered to be like, hey, this is not the only choice that I have.
Yeah, awesome. So when it comes to hormones, there's a lot of different, let's call them treatments out there. Let's get controversial for a minute.
Yeah.
What are some of those treatments you see in mainstream media where you think, oh my gosh, please, ladies, do not go this route to balance your hormones, quote unquote?
Yeah, so what I'm really seeing lately is a lot of cysts and fibroids, and a lot of women just being told that they have to get a hysterectomy, which is, getting your whole uterus out.
And
Um,
also, I just want to point out from an energetic standpoint, when we get organs removed, it your whole energy system,
will change.
I mean, it's a big deal.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Getting an organ removed is a big deal. Absolutely, it has to rebalance because your brain still thinks it's there. You can't remove
Exactly.
it.
Your energy does. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's still there energetically.
yeah, and so I am seeing so much of that, I can't even tell you. It's like
Mhm.
every other patient has a fibroid. And they're being told that, oh, because it's in your muscle, we have to remove your whole uterus. And there are good gynecologists out there. There are really good OBGYNs out there that I know, a couple of them that are like, no, no, you know, there's other options. And of course, where I'm standing, I clean you up, I help you balance your hormones because a lot of that is estrogen dominance. Could be molds, you're living in mold or something like that. Could be parasitic. It could be um, something else that, you can absolutely heal. So don't get that hysterectomy unless you explore those options.
So let's say you move and you're in a whole new town and you are looking for a really good naturopathic doctor like yourself. Brass tacks, what are some of the key things you're looking for in this doctor, in this specialist?
Oh, what a great question. Well, I think first it depends on your needs. I think everyone is different and everyone resonates differently with different people. I think if you're, looking, I'll get to a basic level. If you're looking for a naturopathic doctor, obviously make sure that they've gone to the 4-year medical school and that they're a physician. There are some trainings out there in online that just says, "Oh, I'm a naturopathic practitioner," and or something like that, naturopathy, and they're using that name. So just obviously make sure that they're coming from a medical school that's accredited.
Okay.
Functional medicine doctors. So there's now functional medicine practitioners, and then there's doctors. So the doctors will be either a naturopathic doctor, a chiropractor, or a medical doctor. So make sure that they have those licenses and they're licensed in your, state. Um, or another state that is, obviously that's credible. And then the practitioners, I know that they get it's either a couple months to a year training, and they can help you with your diet and everything like that. Some of them are very good. So it really depends on what kind of level of testing and results and analysis you're looking for. If you're looking for a physician who has done a lot of, first of all, medical school is not going to give you training on hormones. They give you the basic of like, identifying a tumor, identifying some really bad problems. But if you really want to know your stuff, you have to do a lot of extra training. So look at their trainings, look who they're getting trained by, if it's accredited or not. And that should be in their bio.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else you would throw in there?
They can also be listed on websites like the American Association for Naturopathic Physicians or A4M, which is the American Functional Medicine big body too. If you're looking for specific things like hormones, like pellets or something, right? Like, Sotapelli that I'm trained in, you can go on their website and then it should say their name.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
So, let's say someone isn't ready to see a naturopath yet. What are some things you can recommend to our listeners as far as, what are some things they can do just to tweak their day-to-day lives to help themselves start to feel better, start to heal in their own way?
Oh, that's so good. Because I think this is no matter who you go to, if you're not ready, if you are ready, you still have to do these things. I
Right.
think you have to drink clean water. Um, and I know that's a pain right now, but I think it's really necessary because as we say, we go back to the terrain, our entire terrain is made of water. And so because of I know we say that the tap water here is fine and everything, but it's not filtering out pharmaceuticals, and just that it is just literally not.
Oh,
So there's a
I just
ton
got a
of
wave of
pharmaceutical
nausea when you said that.
yeah, there's a ton of pharmaceuticals in the water, and so we're getting exogenous estrogen from the water. So we have to really make sure from a cellular health perspective that we're drinking good water. So I always recommend reverse osmosis and then remineralizing. If you have the funds to get under the sink filter, they sell ones that have remineralization already, so you don't have to do it. Um, then try to eat organic food. I know there's such a controversy on organic.
There is.
Studies are out there like pesticides. I mean, people are being sued for pesticides and cancer, and Monsanto has been sued so many times, right? um but again, I think because organic is becoming so big that conventional farms are also doing it, and so the spraying is still there, and so now even organic isn't organic, so I totally get it. So what I tell people is just try to have local food, be as local as you can. Shop at your farmer's market, ask them questions like, what are you using for spraying and stuff like that? And they'll tell you. And I always just say, try to be local as much as you can.
Okay. Awesome.
And then because the food quality is going to be eventually be made into you. So water and food is foundational, and then sleep. We live in a culture also where we think that 4 hours of sleep is fine, and it's just not. Because and now finally the studies are coming out. The brain's lymphatic system, which is the drainage system of the body, is detoxing at night. It is not detoxing during the day because it's busy doing the job of what we need when we're thinking and all of these things throughout the day. And so we need that sleep to be able to keep our mental acuity for a very long time.
I also heard that women in particular need more sleep than men. Is that true?
Absolutely, just because our brains are wired so differently. We're like, I think there's a joke actually. My partner shared it with me. You know, men live in boxes, and women's brains are like freeways. And so we're thinking about 10,000 things all at once, and men are thinking about that one box, and then they jump to another box. So it's just, we just need more sleep for our hormones, for our adrenals, for our thyroid, and to detox our brain at night.
Is there an answer to this where women typically need a certain amount of sleep? Generally speaking, is there a number?
I think, it's different for everyone, but the average that I see is when I start to see, and of course, age is definitely a factor in this, right? Like when you're younger in like your high school, you need that 8 to 10 hours. And then as you get into your 20s and 30s, you might need the 7 and you do okay. But then you come back to it again as you age from, 40s maybe to back to 8. And then, but again, I see women, me included, that we need, it depends on your job level too, how much cognitive thinking and how stressful your job is based, especially for women's hormones. Like if you have a very stressful job, you need more sleep. If you don't, okay, you can get away with the 7 or 8. But if you have a stressful job, I would say definitely 8 to 9 hours minimum.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So, and also you had mentioned, so obviously quality of food and then sourcing good herbs. So, I guess, what should we look for when we're sourcing good herbs? And then is there any brands that at this point in time you can recommend? We know things change, but
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. There is absolutely brands that I love, and that we carry. I only use medical grade
yeah,
stuff because I interview them, I talk to the companies, I ask, okay, so they need to have third party testing. Third party, because if the company is doing their own testing, they can skew the results, right?
of course.
So third party testing for heavy metals, for pesticides, all of that stuff. They have to source good sourcing, like organic herbs. I know not everything can be organic, but some places in the world that you can source from, they're not spraying and it's not certified organic, but at least, we should know that the sourcing is there. Those are the two minimum. Just like look for those. And some of the companies that I like, I really love Orthomolecular. I think they are really doing a great job in testing and everything like that. The whole supplement terrain is
Mhm.
really changing, and actually a lot of pharmaceutical companies are buying out supplement companies and changing.
Uh,
So, right now we're in the midst of a huge change. I love standard process. I love orthomolecular. Globalhealing.com is also a great one. They have really great sourcing, and they're in glass jars as well instead of plastic,
love
because you
that.
want to look at the capsule too, because if it's not a good vegetable or gelatin capsule, then you can't digest it. And most of us are low in hydrochloric acid. Um, so that's really what we're seeing. Yeah,
Okay.
and then of course there's homeopathics and stuff like that that are very specific companies that I only, use.
Right. 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 Okay. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, of course.
What are your morning and nighttime routines?
Oh God, I'm probably a little bit on the very specific side just because of the job that I do. Um,
Sure.
I'm sure not everyone has to do this, but for me, I have realized through trials that I have to get up early and I have to start the day not stressed and rushed.
Yes.
So I have to do my little qigong practice. I
Mm.
have to eat a good breakfast, and like what I've realized is I have to eat a lot more than I was eating,
Mm.
because my blood sugar was totally off, because I'm back to back to back to back to back to back, right? So it's a little bit different, and not everyone has a schedule. So it really depends on your schedule. And if you have the flexibility to, eat a little bit, like, the French, like they have the little petit déjeuner and then they have a little bit more. And in India too, they have a little bit of a snack fruit in the morning and then they have a proper breakfast. So everyone is different. But for me, so I really need to eat really hearty. I need to do my little qigong, and need to go into work, really grounded, especially with the work that I do.
Yeah.
And then in nighttime, I cannot, eat, and maybe we'll watch a show or something like that, just to like whatever,
Sure.
share
Sure.
that time together. And then I have to do some meditation just to like clear myself of, as a woman, I'm sure we are thinking 10,000 things. And during the day, you don't have time to process that. And so we have to have
Right.
some sort of time where we are allowing those words and those thoughts to have space and then go through us.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I
Yeah.
love sound
I sleep
meditation
a
too.
lot better when my blood sugar is balanced and I'm doing meditation.
Oh, it's so one of the energetic trends I'm seeing in these upcoming years, and I think this is a no-brainer, but is the way we care for our energy and our mental health is going to become a non-negotiable.
Oh, absolutely. And I want that to be there. And like
Yeah.
I really want that to shift. And I'm happy that, we're going through such a transformation globally and in society, because we have to look at that. It really
Mhm.
has been on the back burner. And I think emotional well-being is number one. We have to
Mhm.
be able to eat food and sleep and have time with our loved ones and have fun in life.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah.
That's the whole goal, feeling good so we can have more fun and joy.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you so much for
You're
being here
welcome.
today. This hour has flown by.
Thank
Flown by,
you. Yes, I loved it, and I love talking to you as always.
always. Where can people find you?
So I have a website, drradhasinha.com, and then my Instagram at Dr. Radha Sinha. So it's DrRadhaSinha.
Perfect. And then those in the greater Seattle area, are you taking new clients?
I am, and I am a little bit shifting my focus more towards hormones and natural aesthetics, just because I see that women as we're getting older, and I totally understand, I'm right there with you, that, we're doing all of these things that are very toxic to our bodies in the long run, and neurologically not great for us. So I want to be able to give options for women to age gracefully without that.
I love that.
Yeah, and balance our hormones really, like, because that's always been my passion and always will be.
Amazing. Thank you for bringing that passion into this world.
Yeah, thank you for doing the work that you do. It's so needed.
Oh, thanks. I love it. It's my favorite thing to talk about all things energy.
Yes, it's so awesome. Thank you so
All
much.
right. Thanks so much for being here, everyone. And as always, you can follow up with me, connect at emilymarie.com if you have thoughts about how this episode has impacted you, or if you have more questions for Dr. Sinha. We can revisit that at a later date too.